Sylvanora, the city woven into the ancient trees, hummed with a life both serene and vigilant. Sunlight dappled through the colossal leaves, illuminating walkways made of interwoven branches and homes carved seamlessly into the living wood. Here Shruggy the bard, a man whose melodies seemed to bloom from the very forest floor, plucked a cheerful tune on his lute. "Another day, another dawn kissed by Helios," he announced to a passing cluster of children, their laughter echoing amongst the trees. Shruggy was a beloved figure in Sylvanora, his songs weaving tales of hope and balance, the kind only understood in a city that revered both sun and moon. Their current leader, Elder Rowan, was a quiet scholar and a spiritual guide. He concerned himself less with power and more with the well-being of his people. He believed in the inherent goodness of the Sylvanorians and trusted them to guide themselves, offering counsel only when truly needed. He was, as Shruggy often sang, a shepherd with a gentle hand, leading his flock with a song. The Sylvanorians were a people steeped in the duality of their faith. They worshipped Helios, the radiant god of the sun, the bringer of warmth and life. But they also acknowledged, with a quiet reverence, Umbrus, the god of the moon, the lord of winter and the void. They understood that without the cold and the dark, the sun's warmth would lose its meaning. This belief was embodied by the Order of the Sunflower, who sought to maintain balance, not through blind devotion, but through understanding and, when necessary, resistance. A ways off, in a small clearing carved into the lower branches, Lee tended to his turnip patch. The air was thick with the earthy scent of the soil and the gentle buzz of bees. Lee, with his weathered face and calloused hands, was a man of the earth. But he wasn't always so grounded. He still remembered the night he had almost been consumed by the umbral creatures, twisted shapes of shadow and cold. He had been lost, a runaway orphan scavenging for food in the deep forest, when the moonless night seemed to writhe around him, giving birth to horrors that defied description. He ran, driven only by instinct, until he heard a song, a melody so bright, so full of life that it seemed to push back the encroaching darkness. Then the hiss of an arrow, a brief flash of light, and the demon before him dissolved into shadow dust. As the first rays of dawn pierced the canopy, Lee collapsed, gasping for breath. And then he saw him, Shruggy, standing bathed in the morning sun, a single sunflower perched jauntily on his hat. Shruggy had offered him not just salvation, but also understanding. He explained Helios and Umbrus, the delicate balance between light and darkness, warmth and cold. He showed Lee the beauty of the sunflower, forever turning its face towards the sun, but also drawing strength from the earth below. Lee had found a purpose, tending to his turnip field, understanding that even the simplest act of nurturing life was a defiance against the encroaching darkness. Now, years later, Lee still felt a surge of gratitude whenever he saw Shruggy. He waved as the bard strolled past his field, lute in hand. "Morning, Lee," Shruggy called out, his voice echoing through the trees. "How are the turnips doing?" "Growing strong, thanks to Helios' blessing," Lee replied, a smile spreading across his face. But even as he spoke, a chill ran down his spine. He looked up at the sky where the sun blazed, but felt no warmth. He could hear something, too, a low, guttural growl coming from the shadowed depths of the forest. "Shruggy," he said, his voice suddenly serious, "something's wrong. I can feel it. The balance, it's shifting." Shruggy stopped strumming. He tilted his head, listening. His jovial expression faded, replaced by a look of concern. "You're right, Lee," he said softly. "I can feel it, too. The umbral influence is growing stronger." The cheerful tune had vanished, replaced by a heavy silence. A silence broken only by the distant growl, a promise of darkness to come. The fate of Sylvanora, the city and the trees, hung precariously in the balance, waiting for its sunflowers to rise and face the encroaching night. The age of balance was about to be tested.